Social organizations mobilized in Chile to demand the resignation of the National Police Director Mario Rosas. 3 more bodies were discovered on the French side of the border with Italy this Monday following severe flooding over the weekend. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has called for an end to the hostilities in the NagornoKarabakh region. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. And we begin in Chile, where social organizations mobilized and marched to the presidential palace to demand the resignation of Chilean Police Director Mario Rosas. The popular movement blames the police high command for the ongoing repression of protesters, with the latest example being a 16-year-old boy who was thrown into the Mapocho River during a day of demonstrations in Santiago. Human rights organizations said the young man suffered serious fractures and a contusion. In addition, various groups of citizens have requested the reactivation of the constitutional accusation against Interior Minister Victor Pérez, as well as the extension of the investigation due to the intention of the officers to make the victim, who was hospitalized, look like a detainee. And also in Chile, the Senate Committees on Citizen Security and Human Rights summoned Interior Minister Victor Pérez and National Police Director General Mario Rosas to a hearing to analyse the incident in which a young man was thrown into the Mapocho River by a police officer during a protest in the Chilean capital. Both officials were summoned by the Senate committees on Monday to explain in detail the police procedure that ended with the 16-year-old being injured after falling into the river. Senate President Miguel Ángel Callisto described the incident as extremely serious and said that the actions of the police officer were reprehensible from every point of view. Callisto said he hopes that both Minister Pérez and General Rosas will sanction the officer responsible for the act. Colombia's Supreme Court on Monday ratified the authority of Guarantees Judge No. 30 to resolve the request for liberty of former President and Senator Álvaro Uribe, investigated for alleged witness tampering and procedural fraud. The procedural decision is the latest development in a years-long case against the former president, who has been under house arrest since August 4th. Uribe's lawyer had asked a judge to free him while the case continues, but the judge said last month she could not rule on the motion until the Supreme Court, which was previously in charge of the case, determined whether she had authority in the decision. Uribe resigned from his Senate seat after the house arrest order, leading the court to transfer the case to the Attorney General's office, which critics say will be less rigorous. Uribe and several allies are being investigated over allegations of witness tampering in an attempt to discredit accusations he had ties to right-wing paramilitaries. Honduras hopes to complete on Monday the return of a caravan of more than 1,000 migrants that left for Guatemala on Thursday with the aim of reaching the United States. Deputy Foreign Minister Nelly Jerez reported that at least 1,000 people had completed their return to Honduras as of Sunday through 3 migratory points on the northern border. That amount represents 83% of the migrants that the National Biometric Control System of the Migration Institute estimated had left as part of the caravan last week. The government official said that of the total number of people who returned, almost 700 are adults and 346 are minors. The Deputy Minister urged parents not to subject their children to the dangers of the migratory route and called on people not to be fooled by human traffickers, known as coyotes, who assured them that travelling with minors makes it easier to enter the United States. In Argentina, this Monday saw the start of the trial for crimes against humanity committed by 5 retired soldiers who took part in the so-called death flights linked to the disappearances of leftist political prisoners between 1976 and 1983. The 5 soldiers are directly charged with the kidnapping, torture and murder of 4 victims. Among them were 2 high school students who were kidnapped by the military in November 1976, held in clandestine torture centres and later thrown into the Rio de la Plata River. This week will see the Argentine justice system processing several trials related to human rights violations during the US-backed dictatorship led by General Jorge Videla. On Wednesday, Cordova's federal criminal court will continue the public process against 19 former military men for crimes against humanity committed against 40 political prisoners linked to the People's Revolutionary Army. The United Kingdom Court of Appeals this Monday overturned the decision that granted Venezuelan opposition lawmaker Juan Guaido control of 31 tons of Venezuelan gold reserves held by the Bank of England. In September, the Venezuelan Central Bank filed an appeal against the British High Court decision that prevented President Nicolas Maduro's government from accessing the gold reserves, valued at more than $1 billion at the time, and deposited in the Bank of England in London. Judge Stephen Miles said that the UK's recognition of Juan Guaido, who self-declared himself president of Venezuela, was ambiguous. Sarosh Sawali, lawyer for the Venezuelan Central Bank, noted that the previous court decision was not correct as it granted control of the reserves to a group of people living outside Venezuela, who the Constitutional Court in Venezuela had already ruled to have no lawful authority. And British independent journalist John McEvoy, who's been following the case of Venezuela's gold reserves withheld by the Bank of England, responded to the Court of Appeal's ruling this Monday, which represents a major victory for the legitimate Venezuelan government of Nicolas Maduro.
Now, this appeal overrules a prior judgment from July this year, where a judge in the UK High Court ruled that the UK government unequivocally recognises Juan Guaido as the legitimate president of Venezuela, and therefore the gold stored in the Bank of England is rightfully his. However, in the most recent judgment in the UK Court of Appeal, the judge found that the UK government does not actually unequivocally recognise Juan Guaido, and this judgment is quite important given the given the value of the gold held in the Bank of England. The Maduro government has requested access to it in order to fight the coronavirus pandemic. And it's also important because of the economic crisis that's going on in Venezuela at the moment. For example, during 2018, the total cost of food and medical imports was $2.6 billion. So the amount that's being withheld in the Bank of England at the moment almost covers an entire year of imports of food and medicine. This by no means is the final decision on this case. This will now be handed back to the UK High Court to try and decipher what the UK government's position on this situation is. So until a full decision is made, that gold will remain restricted in the Bank of England.
3 more bodies were discovered on the French side of the border with Italy this Monday, following severe flooding in mountain border areas of both countries over the weekend. The death toll linked to the floods now stands at 12, while hundreds of rescue workers were searching for up to 20 people who are still missing. Flooding devastated mountainous areas in France's southeastern Alps Maritimes region and Italy's northwestern regions of Liguria and Piedmont after a storm swept over them on Friday and Saturday. The missing include 2 French firefighters whose vehicle was carried away by a torrent when a road collapsed. Authorities fear there are more victims as many people couldn't be reached because cell phone service was down. Meanwhile, the flooding has put additional pressure on regions coping with the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's a catastrophic situation. This has not happened in 1,000 years. The river, I think, took the path of its curse of origin. We've been building around it, and all of that is gone. No more camping ground, no stadium, no more swimming pool, no more shops. A hotel is gone. Dozens of inhabitants missing. Entire houses swallowed by the floods. It's a phenomenal disaster.
French authorities decided to put the capital, Paris, on maximum alert from Monday after a steady rise in the number of new COVID-19 cases. Health authorities have reported 203 active coronavirus clusters in the wider Paris region, while over 12,500 new cases were confirmed on Sunday.
The epidemic is going too fast. We must curb it now before our health system is submerged. The numbers will quite easily show this. And we must do this, in particular, while avoiding shattering our country. Starting from tomorrow, all bars will be closed. Restaurants, which we define as establishments whose principal activity is the sale of meals. This is a discussion underway with the Professional Federation at the moment. Can remain open at their normal hours, subject to a new health protocol validated by the High Council of Public Health. From tomorrow, in the academic venues, university level, classrooms, lecture halls, refectories, capacity will be limited to 50% in order to take into account the health situation in Paris. Everyone has prepared for this and understands it.
Authorities in Belgium, one of the hardest hit European countries by the pandemic, are warning the number of virus cases is rising sharply and is likely to do so for several more months. Since the start of the pandemic, more than 130,000 people have been infected with the virus in the country, which has a population of around 11.5 million. As of Monday, 10,064 COVID-19 related deaths had been reported, representing one of the highest mortality rates reported worldwide. Last Thursday, Belgium dropped rules requiring people to wear a mask outdoors, but they must still do so in crowded places. The government also reduced the mandatory quarantine period from 14 days to 1 week for people with COVID-19 symptoms who eventually test negative for the virus.
Unfortunately, the stabilization that we had hoped for has not happened. On the contrary, we see a clear increase in the number of cases in every region and age group. The trend is the same as the one we witnessed in our neighboring countries such as France or the Netherlands. During the last 7 days, we recorded an average of 2,103 new cases per day. This represents an increase of 32% in comparison to the previous week. Just to give you a striking example, on Wednesday, September 30, we were way over 3,000 new cases in one single day.
This Monday, US citizens Harvey Alter and Charles Rice, together with British-born scientist Michael Houghton, were awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for the discovery of the Hepatitis C virus. Announcing the prize in Stockholm, the Nobel Committee noted the trio's work helped explain a major source of blood-borne hepatitis, which could not be explained by the previously discovered hepatitis A and B viruses, adding that their work, dating back to the 1970s and 80s, has helped save millions of lives. The World Health Organization estimates there are over 70 million cases of hepatitis worldwide and 400,000 deaths each year. The disease is chronic and a major cause of liver inflammation and cancer.
During the last 100 years, science has profoundly changed the conditions for humanity on the planet. I mean, this is of course not the first virus to be awarded with a Nobel Prize. I mean, it started with the yellow fever in 1951, hepatitis B, HIV. So there are many viruses that are very important for human disease, and the discovery of these agents, of course, make safe diagnosis and sometimes also good treatments available.
White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany announced she tested positive for COVID-19 this Monday. The announcement comes 4 days after President Donald Trump and the First Lady confirmed they had tested positive for the virus. McEnany said she was not experiencing any symptoms and had tested negative consistently, including every day since Thursday, when top aide to Trump, Hope Hicks, announced she had tested positive. She said she would begin the quarantine process and continue to work remotely.
You may know me as a supporter of President.
China has seen 50 consecutive days without any locally transmitted cases of COVID-19. After bringing the novel coronavirus under control, mass travel between different parts of the country has resumed as it celebrates the so-called Golden Week, an 8-day national holiday. Let's take a closer look.
These images were unthinkable just 8 months ago when the COVID-19 pandemic braked in China. But today, crowds of tourists go again to the iconic sites of the country, a clear evidence that the new coronavirus is kept under control. China has lived 50 consecutive days free of cases of local transmission of the disease, and millions of people travel all around the nation, taking advantage of the known Golden Week, an 8-day holiday that began on the 1st of October. More than 600 million domestic trips are expected on this national holiday, and already 400 million have been made during the first 4 days of the festivity. Although the country reported 20 imported cases this Monday, the authorities confirmed that these are handled in isolation and will not have contact with local people. The amount of people that have moved inside China in such a short period of time is unthinkable in many parts of the world, where governments are still struggling to control the growing infections.
A major surge might show up if we could lose from prevention measures against the epidemic, so it is necessary to hold on to the normalized epidemic prevention and control. Face masks should be one of the accessories everyone should have, especially when you stay in a crowded or closed place. People are advised on high alert against respiratory infectious diseases in the fall and winter.
According to the experts, the Golden Week holidays are an ambitious proof of China's success in mastering the virus and also a highly expected boost to its economic recovery. With a population of 1.4 million inhabitants, China is using, for now, its domestic tourism to relaunch an industry that represented at least 11% of the national GDP before the pandemic and which has been one of the most damaged industries by the pandemic around the world.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has called for an end to the hostilities in the Nagorno-Karabakh region, while highlighting that more than 40 civilians have reportedly been killed and over 200 wounded on both sides of the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs today said that they remain deeply concerned about the ongoing hostilities along the line of contact in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict zone. They urge an immediate end to the fighting. Our humanitarian colleagues tell us that the hostilities reportedly continue to cause the loss of civilian lives and injuries, as well as damage to civilian properties and infrastructure. From the beginning of the latest round of hostilities for today, more than 40 civilians have reportedly been killed and more than 200 others have been wounded on both sides. Hundreds of houses have been seriously damaged.
And this Monday, during a visit to the Turkish capital, Ankara, the Secretary-General of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization urged Turkey to use its influence to ease tensions between Azerbaijan and Armenia over the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region.
Deeply concerned by the escalation of hostilities, all sides should immediately cease fighting and find a way forward towards a peaceful resolution. And I expect Turkey to use its considerable influence to calm tensions.
And the Iranian Foreign Ministry on Monday warned Armenia and Azerbaijan over the possibility of any attacks on its border areas as the violence escalates in the neighboring nations to the northwest of Iran.
The Islamic Republic of Iran cannot tolerate conflict on its borders, especially any assault on its soil. We have told our friends in both capitals, Baku and Yerevan, to be extra cautious and practice utmost care about this. Any aggression against borders of the Islamic Republic, even inadvertently, is a very serious red line for the Islamic Republic that should not be crossed. Iran has prepared a plan to end the conflict, with a specific framework containing details after consultations with both sides of the dispute, Azerbaijan and Armenia, as well as regional states and neighbors, and will pursue the implementation of this plan.
And Azerbaijan's defense ministry released footage on Monday of what it claims are Azerbaijani soldiers taking control of a village in the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh. The Azerbaijani flag was also seen on a building in the village, which appears to be deserted. Fighting between Armenian and Azerbaijani forces over the Nagorno-Karabakh region resumed on Monday morning, with both sides accusing each other of launching attacks. Armenian military officials reported missile strikes hitting the territory's capital. The region is located in Azerbaijan but has been under the control of ethnic Armenian forces since the end of the war in 1994. Iraqi President Barham Salih held an official meeting with the United Nations Special Representative for Iraq in the capital Baghdad on Monday to address the country's general election set for June next year. According to the President's press office, the discussions during the meeting reiterated the importance of the upcoming elections, as well as the need to ensure the highest standards of integrity and transparency at all stages of the electoral process. The UN Special Envoy Janine Hennis-Plasschaert noted that the need to coordinate between the United Nations and Iraq's Electoral Commission regarding electoral observation missions to rebuild credibility and the confidence of voters, while also underlining the Iraqi national project on the consolidation of state authority, the enhancement of the country's sovereignty, including the protection of diplomatic premises and the prevention of terrorist acts. Iraq's next general election is due to take place on June 6, 2021, roughly a year ahead of when it would normally be held to meet the demands of anti-government protesters. 100 days into his term, the new president of Malawi has called for more time to implement his campaign promises. Lazarus Chakwera won an election on June 23rd after the country's highest court invalidated a 2019 vote which had handed victory to his rival and predecessor Peter Mutharika over fraud.
Have you done enough? No, I will be the first one to tell you I have not done enough. And this country has not done enough. More than what is happening right now. 100 days is not a panacea for every problem we face. That, even in political science, must be challenged. Not everything done in 100 days means it should define your presidency or your leadership for the rest of that, because you can change your course of any direction at any time.
Kenyan health authorities confirmed 22 new COVID-19 cases on Monday, bringing the total number to over 39,000.
To our COVID-19 statistics over the last 24 hours, we have 595 confirmed cases. We tested 595, After testing 595 samples, we have 22 confirmed positive cases, which brings our total number of positives to 39,449. Our cumulative tests.
And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And you can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss. Thank you for watching.